Good morning. Welcome to the Seneca County Commissioners General Session Board Meeting on October 20th, 2022. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pleased to see the other two commissioners are back from being under the weather. Welcome back. Would you start with a prayer?
Sure.
Frank?
Please join me in a short prayer here. Heavenly Father, we ask for your intercession in helping us make decisions that are in the best interest of those we serve. We ask in a special way, as we always do, that you protect those people who are protecting our freedoms and their families. We ask all this through your Son. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Roll call.
Commissioner Paradiso?
Here.
Commissioner Schuff?
Here.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Here.
We'll accept a motion to approve the digital audio recording of our previous board session dated on Thursday, October 6th, our general regular session. Motion?
So moved.
Yeah, motion? So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes.
Commissioner Schuff?
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso?
Yes, thank you. Okay, so we will have a bid opening at 10:15. We'll jump down to commissioner reports. You're up.
All right, so had a busy week here this week. Had a lot of meetings here discussing internal operations here at the office, how we have some new faces here and how we're all going to work together and kind of structure this, because we do have some new positions, but trying to figure out who's responsible for what roles and just trying to make sure that we collaborate and work together as efficiently as possible. In our first week of announcing the facade program for the county, we've had 6 applications our first week, so looking forward to getting with our board here on that and discussing those here in the next week or so. But starting out for the first week, having 6 applications is a good start. Had a ribbon cutting for Nicole Miller. Very well attended event. Nice to see businesses growing here in Seneca County, so congratulations to her. Also had a meeting with Sharon George this week to go over some potential changes in the bylaws for Family and Children First Council, so we're looking at some different options there as far as that group goes. Also, just wanted to congratulate Bryce and Marissa. They received an award here for the Seneca County Chamber from the Ohio Travel Association. So yeah, they got recognized by the state, so congrats to them. And then finally, I just want to touch up, I know we've talked about this in the last few months, but I've got 2 more new complaints or issues, I guess, with people having issues with Richland County. The new deli that's trying to open on Frost Parkway is having some major issues with them, and also the old Uncle Mike's, they're being installed as well with Richland County Building Department. So that's just 2 more complaints or issues that we've had in the last week with our building department. I think we need to kind of keep moving forward as far as looking at different options or something to help these small businesses get open, because it just seems to be every other week that we're hearing about things getting stalled and held up. So we want to help these people get open.
You making any little progress with that conversation?
A little bit. I've spoke with another county as well that's having similar issues. So they were kind of bouncing ideas back and forth. I give them a little bit of information, they give me a little bit. So I think we can, probably wouldn't hurt to have Safe Build come in and maybe speak on that. I haven't spoke with Sandusky County. They were still wanting to get a rent amount around for that. So, and I know we discussed getting the homeowners association in as well. So
Yeah, one of the hangups is they're asking the commissioners to pay sign a lease for rent. We don't want to do that. So we would give them, we'd find space for them here. If they wanted to come here, we'd give them an office at no charge, right? And allow them to have a desk and that kind of thing. But we don't want to pay rent over there for space. So that is something we're trying to, that's going back and forth for a few weeks. So see if we can get that second base.
last
In
time
your
I talked to them,
spare
they were still
They're
pretty
still-
adamant on the
They're
rent.
still adamant
So
for the rent, so that would be something we'd have to, well, let's have them come in, and if that's the only thing
I reached out
pending.
to the Sandusky County Commissioners, and I'm gonna be going up to take a look at their operation or their department and kind of just get some more information, but it seems to be an ongoing
Why
issue.
don't you do that?
I'm gonna take a road trip up, so.
It works.
Okay, Mr. Kirschner.
Sure, on the radio this morning, another session of County Corner. That'll be played later today. I would remind everybody, as I'm sure we have it on our mind, election is November 8th. Early voting has indeed began. The Board of Election is in need of poll workers. You just need to be a registered voter at 17. And to contact them, it's 419-447-4424. We would ask anyone out there who has the notion that they might want to do that. It's a great public service, and you get $130 for the day plus $40 for training. It is a long day, 5:30 a.m. until about 8 o'clock at night, but it does give you a chance to see your neighbors and do a nice civic duty. Again, that number is 447-4424 for the Board of Elections. Early voting has begun, and you can go in the Board of Elections office and vote up until November 8th. On that date, you can't use that option. You have to go to your poll station. I'll reiterate something that Tyler said. Destination Seneca County did receive a Ruby Award. I'll include Marissa Rice and Deb Maturano in that. It's quite an effort on their part. That Destination Seneca County is funded by bed tax, so taxes that are received from the hotels and the bed and breakfasts around town. We would like to recognize them as an award recipient there for the first time. So congratulations.
That's a big deal. I see you have your radio clothes on today.
Yeah. I got the
Face for radio,
Face for
clothes for
radio, as they
TV.
say.
Yeah, you look good this morning. Anything else?
That's it.
A few things. We had a solid waste budget hearing or work session, putting that together for next year for the benefit of the public. The Solid Waste District, OSS, Ottawa, Sandusky, Seneca is made up of all 9 commissioners, 3 from each of the counties. If you are on the budget committee, which I represent Seneca County on the budget committee, then you cannot be an officer on the board of the solid waste. Commissioner Schuff's the secretary, and you're also on the policy committee, right?
Policy.
As well. So we're represented there, and so my role last year and this year has been to be on the budget committee. Looking pretty, things are looking real well for next year, and I'll report back once we approve the final budget. So I just have a couple things, not necessarily in this order, but I guess we'll go with what I have written down. So part of our actions today will be to rescind the annexation agreement, or I'll read this. So on our new business, what's this? Yes,
Yeah.
new business, we have to rescind the board's orders of September 29th, accepting the petition and granting the annexation to the city of Fostoria for parcels that are listed at Jackson Township. And this is basically on Route 23, where Ohio Logistics has bought a large piece of ground, construction's underway. We took action, and we assumed that there was an agreement between the city and the townships. That agreement has expired. So we have a similar agreement with the city of Tiffin, with Hopewell, Eden, and Clinton Townships. As that was expiring, they formally extended it a year, then came up with the new agreement, so there was no gap in the annexation process. If that agreement's in place, then we can approve the annexation under the expedited agreement, as the rules would follow that agreement. But since it expired, and it's been expired for a year and a half, we took action that we can't legally do. So we are going to rescind that today. They are working on an extension agreement I give hats off to Engineer Zimmerman and to Auditor Julie Atkins for putting their heads on and figuring out how we can make this work. And it's because it's been dragging on, and not continue to delay the project and frustrate the developer and the builder. And I think we have a solution. So I'm going to give everybody credit there, including the Jackson Township trustees. So we'll be buttoning that up, and then we'll have to go through the regular process, but everyone's in agreement, and it'll just be a formality. So that's why we're resending what you see here on the agenda. Number two, as we go into budget season, I've been wanting to bring this up, but I received an email from Mirsha, who's our representative on Region 17 for the opioid settlement. And Seneca County received $24,217. This is according to Mirsha. We have to verify this with
Okay.
all parties. We will continue to get this kind of money for the next 18 years. I would like us to direct this money to the EMS budget. It's somewhat restricted, and providing funding for EMS protection, given the overdoses and the things that go on, this would be approved money. So instead of it just sitting in the general fund, I would like to create a line item on our EMS budget, and unless the auditor and you guys tell us it's a different way of doing it, that this money would continue to go into that.
We can figure
I don't
that
know if
out.
you
I
guys
think,
have any-
I think it makes sense, 'cause I mean,
Any thoughts to it? You good with it?
yeah.
Okay, so that'll be, I don't know if we need any motion, it's just more
We
of
can
an
get that
internal
done. We'll
thing.
figure out what exactly the steps that we need to do to
And
get
he
that.
can tell you
If there's
kinda
anything
when it's-
additional, we can add it for next week or whatnot, so.
Okay, good, and really, that's all I have. We still have 3 minutes until formally the bid opening. We have a sign-in sheet, do we have to do that?
Allison has it out there, I
Okay,
believe.
so we did that. You wanna,
I can real quick, I just have
Do a
one
few
thing.
things? Yeah.
The sheriff's office reached
Go a few
out to us to ask if they could use a Zoll monitor for the purposes of treating the inmates or assessing the inmates instead of just calling a squad and sending them to the hospital for every ache and pain, chest pain that they have. So they requested usage of one of our monitors. I checked with Mike. He verified that we do currently have an extra one. And even if one of our truck ones were to go down, Zoll would send us another one for temporary use until that one's fixed, so we are covered. But we're gonna go ahead and make that transfer and allow them to use that additional Zoll monitor that we have just laying around. This will
Good.
save costs in the long run because we're not just calling squad and transporting right away. They can do a little bit more assessing. So, they're able to use those with Ken and Danny being over there and everything, so.
That's good.
That's something we're gonna hopefully get over to them today. So I did just put a little letter together for them, just letting them know that if we were to run into any issues with ours and we needed it back, that they would just make sure that we get that back right away for usage of EMS. So, other
nice,
than that, that's all I really have right now.
okay. Jimmy, what time do you have?
10:14, almost.
Okay.
10:30.
We're going to have a bid opening, Lou, then we'll go into executive session to talk with you real quick and come back. Then we're going to talk capital projects, and then we'll get into new business. So that's kind of our agenda, kind of a full agenda today. Anyone that wants to talk, we'll have public comment at the end. If you guys want to talk, if you just want to hang out, you can come and go when you want to. So we'll wait another 30 seconds. right? John, anything on your end? While we have some
So we
dead
have this
time?
one, I'll just make sure there's no more.
Are we good?
You can see, are there any audience members without one
You can
comment,
choose.
Yeah.
single issue or anything that they can?
Good. So we're gonna miss the senior statesman here, but does anyone have a comment or they want to make in between here? And you guys want to say anything? You good? We can sneak
Well, I
you
just
in.
want to bring up about
We can sneak you in.
the bill here I know that this morning it was supposedly taken care of, but when you have a fire and the firefighters are there and we get heat exhaustion or something like that, which I had, and I went to the squad, they put an ice pack on my neck, a towel on my head, and checked my blood pressure. And then we received a bill for $200. Now, that was the paid department. But the volunteer department didn't send any bills to anybody. And it took a couple of months now for this to get handled. And like I told you this, what, a month ago?
Yeah, with the East meeting,
Yeah.
right?
And like I told you, I wasn't gonna give it to you,
That's right.
and I wasn't gonna
Well, we
tear
made
it
a
up
copy
like
of
you
it.
said.
We made a copy of it, right?
Yep.
Okay. So that
And,
was, that's right. And that was the first time I found out about it in the parking lot.
Right.
And then we informed you might get a second bill because our billing comes out of California.
And you said it was taken care of.
So.
And the second bill
we got a
popped up
second bill.
yesterday.
Yeah, so we hear you loud and clear and we are taking care of it. Is that a fair answer?
Absolutely, yep.
And the thing is,
Yeah.
maybe there should be a separate form for that. Like, if you're out on a fire or something like that, that form should show that you wasn't transported or anything like that. So you shouldn't be charged for it. Because I volunteered for 47 years at Scipio Republic, and I think twice I've used the squad.
Yeah. That's Mr. Currian, volunteer from Republic. So what we're gonna do is, we're gonna bring in a full-time medical or EMS director. And then we're gonna have meetings with the fire departments. And we're gonna go over everything from supplies to that to the whole thing, right? We've talked about this, and we're putting a list together. We'll give plenty of notice, and we'll get all the questions together, and we'll all get in a room, and we'll have a discussion, and everybody will understand how it works. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and
And one more thing,
yes,
we carry bags on our fire trucks to a scene where somebody's been cut by a lawnmower. We wrap them up and before the squads even get there.
right,
And then they claim that if it's replaced by the squad on our fire trucks, it's stealing.
we are gonna talk about that at the next meeting, when we get together, okay?
Okay.
Because there's obviously issues there. So,
So,
yeah, so I'm not gonna give you the answer now, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna put everybody in the room, we're gonna go through those scenarios, and we'll all, with the medical director, the town administrator, will resolve it, and then we'll have a policy, you know,
okay.
but we appreciate you coming in and informing everybody what it's really like out there in the real world, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
I
thank
got
you.
one too, by the way.
So, we're gonna open Lonnie, did you wanna say something? Because we're gonna open up, we're back on the agenda with our,
I just needed like 5 minutes of your time.
you can't have 5, you can have 2 minutes.
Okay,
Can you do it in 2 minutes?
I can try.
Okay, because
You know my situation, right?
otherwise you have to do it at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
I'll give
Well,
you
I
2
can do
minutes
that
right
too.
now.
I investigated some things on that, and I got some answers that, because I got to run around there saying the state.
You can bring that, do you mind, if you don't mind staying, bring it up at the end of the meeting?
But hey, don't
That'd be
take
great.
state.
Okay, thank you. So let's go to the bid opening.
Michael worked with RCM Architects. I was the project architect on this project. We are doing a bid opening for the Seneca County Dog Warden Edition. We have received 3 bids. I got 2 electronically and 1 paper copy. One from ACI Construction, Helms Construction, and Klaus Construction. The advertised bid amount for this project was $414,930. And I will start with the paper copy from Klaus Construction. The bid is submitted on the provided bid forms. Base bid, $357,056.00. Mechanical contractor listed, TCM Services. Plumbing contractor listed, TCM Services. And electrical contractor, Klaus Electric. Proposed time of completion, 120 calendar days after award of contract. That is we have 2 copies. That is the bid from Klaus Construction. Now I will open the electronic bids, first from ACI Construction. Okay. ACI Construction, total bid amount of $535,000 even. Bid submitted on the forms provided. Mechanical contractor listed, Bodie Mechanical. Plumbing contractor listed, Bodie Mechanical. And electrical contractor listed, also Bodie Mechanical. That is the bid from ACI Construction. Open from Helms Construction. Total bid amount, base bid, $437,000.00. Mechanical contractor listed, Bodie. Plumbing contractor listed, Bodie. And electrical contractor listed is Herbert Electric.
Yes.
Those are the 3 bids that were received for this project. We will review all the forms provided to make sure everything is provided accurately, and then.
You guys work together.
Yep.
Okay.
Anything else? We're good?
Let me make sure I heard those right. The first bid was 357 and change.
Yes.
The second bid was 535,
Yes.
and the third bid was 437.
437.
Doesn't that seem to be a wide
It's a fairly
range?
wide range
200,000
there.
200,000 on a $400,000 project?
Right.
I mean, it's a,
So we'll review the bids and do a scope review of the low bid.
I'm just not used to that big a gap.
Mhm.
Yeah, hey, yeah, if I could say something here, we've got our bid screwed up. Kyle here put it together.
I did not add all the subs into a base bid. So
Oh.
if we add the subs into the base bid, that's our base bid. That's why it's so less. I misread the quote.
So your general construction base bid of $285,675, is that accurate?
Oh, that's 286. I think, okay, Beth did it. Can I see that? Which just sounded incorrect from.
Looks like the numbers add up from what's
Yeah,
on
she
there.
may have- That is correct. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Apologize.
So is that the total or?
The total is $357,056.
You ready to go now? So,
Okay. I'll stop for
that concludes the bid opening. I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session, discuss property.
Make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss property.
Second.
Commissioner Kirchner?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw?
Yes.
Commissioner Fairdine?
Yes, it's 10:24. We shouldn't be too long. So I will make a motion that we come out of executive session.
We should do that, and I want to make sure that it was clear that it was for property acquisition. I don't know that we're real clear. with it.
Okay, so before we do that,
Gold
we
Star.
went in executive session for property acquisition, no action was taken. And I'll make a motion that we come out of executive session at 10:30.
Second.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kirchner?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw?
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso?
Yes. So instead of I'll entertain a motion, I can just make the motion.
Exactly.
Speed everything up. So it's working.
Efficiency.
It's rubbing off on
You
me.
got it.
Thank you, yeah. Okay, so are we ready for old business?
We can.
Okay, let's talk capital projects. And we've had a list, we've brought this up before. My understanding is there's a few that you want to talk about.
Yeah.
John, you're part of the conversation. Okay.
Do you want to start
ahead.
with the CSB, the health department?
Yes, the wall. When we took, everybody knows this, when we took the wall down, the stucco, we found an unstable wall there. Unstable being the brick that were probably conjoined to the hardware store early 1900s. And now it was unstable to the point where it would not hold anchors that we need to put the stone on, the new stone. Okay, so we needed to stabilize it. We chose that over redoing the whole wall. Of course, it would have been very expensive. So we filled in areas that were not filled in. There was a piece of ductwork there. There was concrete. If you saw those massive openings for concrete, those are the floors from the old LaSalle's building, where the big stairways that go up the side. That's what supported those, so obviously you can't mess with those. So we've done that now. We're still in the process of stabilizing that wall. We had Hildy Company come in, shoot some anchors that we're gonna use, some 4-inch anchors. Decided those would not work, so we used 8-inch anchors. They all passed except for one, and that was put into a blank wall, actually a hollow wall. Again, part of that unstable wall thing. So we stabilized it. We're gonna use the 8-inch anchors. We're gonna continue on with the slab stone that we originally designed. Then problem number 2 came up, where we're tearing the wall out for the new doors, the big double doors and so forth. We ran into a vent pipe for the soil system, or for the sewage system. 4-inch threaded steel pipe.
Right where the door goes.
You know, yeah, right where the door goes. So we have a new change order coming. I've got it now, I haven't reviewed it yet, so, but that'll be to move the vent pipe around that door. If we don't, we can't use the double door, the way we designed it. So we're into that, but we're, you know, we have a very old building. We uncovered things that were never taken care of before. We are now taking care of them. We're gonna have a very nice building when we're done, and it'll be a sturdy building. So that's where we're at. We're back working. We haven't stopped. We have to review the change order to move that 4-inch steel pipe. And you're looking in the $13,000 area, but we haven't reviewed it yet, so.
Put a number on the stabilization of the wall.
Stabilization of the wall was $77,000.
Yeah.
87, so we're 90,000 over.
Yeah.
Right.
Round number.
And there's
Right.
some smaller
But-
ones that have
But
come in
again,
as
we
well,
feel
so.
anybody would have had this problem now, no matter who or what. You know, we don't want to put the stone, the 4-foot by 4-foot slabs of stone, we do not want to anchor them into something that's not going to hold. We want to be sure.
With weather coming, are we okay on time?
No, time has been backed up to spring of '23.
Which makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
they're gonna work and then till they can't.
Right,
Come back in
right. We've
spring.
already moved the whole department out of the second floor, built a sub-wall to close that in, to put the windows in, because we have to saw up there and everything. And so that's all being done. We're on go for that. And yeah, but it'll be spring. I don't know when spring, but spring of '23.
Okay.
The next thing, on those projects, there's just emailed you guys over that feasibility study for the museum. I think that cost has increased a little bit more than what originally thought. So that's just something to keep in mind when we start talking about capital projects and digging into those a little bit
I have
more.
a thought on that, done by the commissioner. So I'm afraid when you get into the museum, similar conversation's gonna occur, right?
Oh,
We're gonna-
absolutely.
We're gonna run into, so, you know, when you add
We're
10%
gonna run into that
contingency,
unstable wall,
we probably need to run a 30% contingency in on that bid.
at least.
So what I'd like to do is take you maybe or John and go to a museum board meeting and have a discussion with them that this is more money than the county, quite a bit more money than the county budgeted, and see if we can begin some grant discussions either with the Barnes Foundation, with the Barnes Foundation and with Jody Reinbold downtown at the
Tiffin Charitable Trust.
Tiffin Charitable Trust, thank you. Well, you're gonna have to keep us straight up here, because we have, when you get to be our age, you forget stuff.
Speak for yourself.
But I think we could do a partnership there, if they were to get involved and help us out, and then I'd like to begin conversation on that before we go down a path, because I think that would make it more viable for all of us. So if you remind me of that, we'll go to a meeting and get on their agenda and begin that conversation. Okay? Next. Jimmy?
Did you guys want to put a number on that, or are you just gonna speak generally?
Not yet.
I
Yeah.
mean, isn't it public record? What's the estimate? What was the original estimate and what is it now?
I don't have the original
Well,
estimate.
so we thought originally we threw 100,000 out there, and
Yep.
now we're at 400,000.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah, that kind of number.
I think this one's 688.
Yeah. Well, depends.
Yeah,
Someone's gonna ask. It's public record, just
yeah.
talk about it. Thank you.
So it's a
Yeah,
lot
and
higher.
these are guesstimates, and, you know, that's the other thing too, Jimmy, it's a
688
good
in the
point.
museum?
So we have two, we could adjust the scope of the work as well.
I thought I saw
Yeah.
that.
Multiple
that's kind of-
multiple
And it could be,
projects
but
on
this
that.
figure
That's,
with all of
you know,
the.
and we could do stage.
Phases and whatever, so that's kind of was my thought, but you make a good point, Jimmy. So when we go to speak with them, to do everything we want, it's 700,000, and we're at 100, so how can we shrink it, and then how can we find some money?
I know this is probably a huge can of worms.
Yeah,
I hesitate to mention it, but I will. I mean, that building is what? Maybe 15,000 square feet on a good day? Probably more like 8,000 square feet, I think.
Do you know that, John?
I don't know that off the top of my head, but
John's not sure.
I'm sure it's in here, but.
Yeah, I mean,
And there's a
15,000
lot
is
of-
way too much. 8,000 is probably closer.
counting all 3 floors.
7 to 8, I recall.
Yeah, and the Fort Ballroom in the back, it's a nice room, but we're really not gonna put a lot of money in that. But
Well, now,
keep going.
we've done the HVAC
Right.
for that room, under somewhat of an emergency. They had nothing, their big old electric furnace went out, and, they had no heating, cooling, or nothing, so.
But there's still, I mean, there's actually still some knob and tube in there on the electrical.
On the upper floors, yes.
Yeah.
Not on the lower, on the upper floors, yes,
Right.
that's correct, that's correct. Go ahead with your thought.
Well, at what point in time is an amount of money too much to put in
Yeah.
a building? I guess that's the question. $700,000, you know, into a 5,000, 8,000 square foot building is a whole lot of money. And I get that we are charged with maintaining that building as the county. And I certainly would never suggest that we don't have a museum. But on the same token, we've got to decide, you know, when we say uncle, and maybe house someplace else.
Good point.
Again, I'm sure
And
that's,
I think
I'm sure that won't be very popular.
No, but I think that's how you start the conversation. I will, you know, I think that's how we started. You know, we've got a building that.
I'm afraid that 688 will turn into $1 million pretty quick.
It will turn into 800 or some number, but we start with this, we throw the 800 or $1 million out there. This is the scope of everything that we were gonna do, all new. It's pretty extensive replacement of everything.
But we
What
still
can we-
haven't touched that, the
Carriage
garage,
house?
the carriage
Yeah,
house.
and to be fair, you know, the reason I asked that is because when we went through the capital budget originally,
Yeah.
we just put a number on there. John was completely ballparking it,
Right,
right? So
yeah.
if we put 100 down, it was a complete guess, right? And it's an old building. I mean, we could run, like you said, it may be 680 now, it could be $1 million, it could, but we just need to temper expectations because we originally approved that, right? We approved the top 10 on the list. That was one of the ones in there. So maybe we won't be able to. We have a plan moving forward. I just want to make it clear to the people, so.
I'd like to see the numbers individually, line
Of
items.
which thing is
Where-
exactly.
Yeah, what's going to what are
Yep.
priorities, and what's a need and what's a want.
But there's no argument in the fact there are some serious, we have to do some serious, there's some serious issues. So, you know, so how do we attack them? This was rewire the whole place, put all new HVAC everywhere. This was really taking it to that level. So it's way more than we thought. I think we've got a stomach up here, we don't wanna spend that kind of money on the museum. We wanna address the museum, it's a priority, because you can't have things moldy and unsafe, and there's some work we can do there. So between grants and maybe shrinking the project down, phasing the project, we'll bring that back for further discussion, but it's not gonna be, okay, let's move ahead.
That was always
You know.
the very first thing, was the
So,
heating, cooling, climate controlling. We've lost, over many years, we've lost many antique uniforms, whether they're Civil War uniforms or whatever, to mold, mildew, and so forth. With we have a fairly new boiler, but an old boiler system. Absolutely no air conditioning, no humidity control or anything. I was always said, I don't care if you don't do anything to it, get some humidity control in
I
there.
think that's kinda where I'm
And that's,
headed.
yeah, and that's basically HVAC, so.
So we'll get back, let's keep it moving.
Just one addition, and that
Yeah, go
is, this
ahead.
absolutely no way reflects the hard-working people there at the museum, doing a great job, trying to straighten things out, working every day to make certain that museum stays open and you know, and stays renewed. So there's a lot of hard-working people over there, and don't want them to think any of this is because of the work they're doing. It's just because it's just an objective decision at this point in time. How much do you put in a building that has X dollars net worth? Even if, from a historical standpoint, I get that. But as Commissioner Paradiso said, that to me would take some grants. If that's the direction we're gonna go, to try to take that out of operating money, that's a real luxury that I don't know we can afford.
So I think it's fair to say it's still one of our top priorities, okay? We're not scratching the project. We have work to do, John. We have to, that will include maybe phasing it, shrinking, value engineering it, knocking some things out, and grants. And then how much we put in, we don't know yet. We'll bring it back for all of us to talk about. But I think we gotta get a little more work. We're not killing the project, but the bids came in at 680, and after you read the overruns and today's cost, we can go 800 to $1 million. We could get into something like that if we really got in there
It's that kind of building, yes.
and did the entire thing. So we don't wanna go there. So we'll Does that make sense, Jimmy? to you?
Another thing could be in '24, the state capital budget. I mean, we've gotten state capital money for the carriage
Yeah,
house
I mean-
before. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of options,
Well, we're
right?
making progress. We funded a study, we identified a lot of things, it's not like we haven't done anything, but we're getting data now where we can
Right.
start to make decisions. So I appreciate that comment. You good? We'll go to the next item.
The next one was the ag building. I sent that also for you guys to review, but initially on the, capital project, list, that cost estimate was around 2.5 million. That came in at about 4.6 million. The second part to that was the, storage, so that
10,000
4.
square foot building.
Yeah, so the 4.6 does not include that storage unit that was talked about for EMA and trucks and stuff like that. That came in at an additional 2.9 for that. So those are some big changes in costs than originally thought. So just something to start thinking about as far as moving forward with those projects.
I'm glad we're all sitting down in these nice padded chairs. This news is, so I have a comment there, and see what you guys think, because 4.9 just seems high. So one of the questions would be, if we built this a year from now, our construction costs could be any better. It could be worse, but if we're in, we don't know. So we're making decisions based on today. The one thing about the ag building that's huge for the county is that the USDA, FSA, Farm Services Agency, is a tenant. They pay us rent. And we finally tracked down that we need to talk to them because we have to renegotiate a lease. And they have requirements, John, you went through this firsthand, certain carpets, certain lights, certain square footage per employee, they have a lot of requirements. So for us to get to the next step in this discussion, including what would the rent be, we have to have a conversation with them. So give us you told me this yesterday, but it's pretty crazy, the next step.
So I think before they'll even entertain an idea of giving us what their needs
Don't
are,
even talk to us.
we basically have to we have an email address that we have to submit a support ticket to. Now that we have this, we can at least I'm gonna send the drawing to them. We're gonna submit that and see if they're 6 to 9 months out or 6 to 12 months out. So at least we can submit something to them and maybe have begin a conversation with them.
6 months from
6
now.
months from now, in regards to that. So we're gonna get that
That's how it works.
ticket submitted just
Bill,
to
you
have the
surprised?
conversation.
Not at all.
So so the process, you got that right, Jimmy?
Yep.
Yeah, we have to send it
Very
in.
frustrating.
We get
Yeah.
a name at USDA in Washington, we can start conversation with. We're 6 months to a year away from that happening. And then we can begin this
Can we
conversation.
fast track it, get our congressman involved?
Well, we're gonna try all that, but we need to get the ticket, we need to get the
Yeah.
thing submitted. And then we'll try to see if we can, we'll pull all strengths to see if we can get it moved ahead a little bit. But that's consistent to what I've heard.
We're gonna pull some new leases from some of the other counties
Keep
that
working
have
on that.
just had some updated leases. That'll give us an idea of the updated like square footage and stuff that they're requiring at that moment. So it'd probably change by the time we get to our project, but at least it gives us where we're at now from our lease to where it's increased. Their needs have increased, so that'll be something that we can at least start looking at, so
And
that'll
I think
help.
we can look at the storage facility, again, more serious. This is what this is what we can give you. Can you work with
Yeah,
that? Can
right.
you live with
Yeah,
that?
that's pretty, right.
I mean, I think I've got probably the biggest compartment in that building, but that handles a lot of different areas, But we can look at that and scrutinize that, and get it skimming down a little bit. The other thing is, I've made a couple contacts about the barns. There's a group in eastern Ohio that buy barns. So I am waiting to hear back from them to come and give us a price of what they will buy our barns for. So,
I will remind the commission that we did have 10.75 million from American Relief Plan money, right? If we did an ag building and a storage building at 7.5 million, and we did $3 million worth of EMS buildings or ambulance buildings, that money's gone.
That's right.
So, I just want everybody to be aware that we have a number of other items on this list that we'll have some discussion about. So, you know, at some point in time, the money, obviously the money isn't infinite. Not only that, but we put part of that 10.75 million to reimburse ourselves for salary back into pretty much general fund. So a big portion of that's gone.
Yeah. That is correct. So I guess since these are priority buildings, we might just have to slow things down till we get the facts so we can make a good decision.
Yeah.
Based on what we have, we can't make a decision on either of these any of these projects. The one thing I thought about, and I'll just throw it out there, I might, we will call you in your retirement, but if the number was, this is hypothetical, like $4.5 million for an ag building, and we were gonna put 2.5 or 3 in of our money, maybe we could get a bond for $1.5 million or so. The rent, depending on how this rent goes, if our rent goes up with the USDA by 30 grand a year, some number like that, which is very possible, because we're operating on we're expiring a 10-year lease. We could then work backwards and see what that revenue would cover over a 20-year period of time or something like that. And as you would say, it's not a revenue bond, but it kind of would be backed by a USDA lease. And then, so I would entertain something like that, but we're not there yet. We're a ways out till we
Yeah. And
put
the other
that
thing
together.
is the
But
storage,
conceptually,
10.7 doesn't go as far as it used to.
yeah,
the storage building is something we don't have now, and we're all living day by day.
yeah.
So we don't,
It just might
something
have
we
to-
could possibly do without
Yeah,
for a number of years,
And I would just caution the commission, bonding is a slippery slope. The only thing that we bonded is the courthouse,
yeah.
the justice center, and that because
Sewer.
because
We
that
did
was,
sewer.
well, long term, I know a number of those things are rolling off, but to leverage all this discussion about capital improvements came about because we had some money dropped in our laps that we typically would not have had.
Right.
And to take that money and then to spend some additional money, I would caution the commission.
Okay, we're gonna cross that bridge when we get all the facts, but,
I mean, just from John's numbers, 2.9 million just for the storage building. We were budgeting 2.5 for the whole entire ag building, so I mean, the storage building's costing more than what we were budgeting for the entire ag.
Well, and if you look further down, we had like a public safety building project, which that's what this.
that's what that
you know,
is.
Yeah.
we had 1 million for that. But one thing I want to mention, I was just looking this up. We've been looking at inflation numbers, we've been looking at CPI. Just compared to January of 2014, $1 million in January 2014 has the same buying power as like 1.3 million now. So it's like a 30% increase almost. I mean, things are more expensive by about 30% compared to just 7 or 8 years ago.
Are you surprised they're this high, construction cost?
Yeah, I'm surprised,
like
I've
so
heard,
high.
I've seen where
Still.
estimates were 10% low or whatever, but I've not seen it 30%, 40%, and that's where we're at now.
it's
And
just-
I mean, we were kind of ballparking too, right, John? I mean, we were very, very
Well,
basic guesses.
I will couch that by saying this isn't the first time in history it's happened.
Right.
It's the first time of late it's happened, but if you go back to the 80s, this stuff, you're getting CD rates that were 16% and inflation was, 30%, the same kind of thing was going on. So, it's a cycle. That's why we try to protect ourselves against bad cycles, and that's why we have budget stabilization money and all those kind of things.
So if we put money in capital account, which at the end of the day, we're gonna do at some point before the end of the year, that money can sit there, we're fine, right? And if we don't touch it for a couple of years or.
Well, I think you have until 2025 to spend,
But that money, I believe now.
End of
is-
24.
is- That money's
Yeah,
appropriated by 2025, is that what it was?
2024.
2024.
Okay. But if we seize the money, then we don't have to do that, right? If we can get all the money out of, under the ARP umbrella into the general fund umbrella, we can move it into the capital fund, they can sit there for till 2030 if we wanted to.
Well, and, you know, the other thing, again, to remind the commission about is that in the capital improvement money for the state, a lot of times they have priorities. Sometimes it's a historical project. You know, so, I mean, that's what they
Sometimes
put
it's
the
match.
emphasis. Sometimes it's, you know, sometimes it's agriculture, sometimes it's education. You're not sure, you gotta, again, you gotta shoot the ducks that are flying. You figure out which one you're most likely to get funded, and that, I think that's what you go after, and you get there early and often rather than waiting for the scraps. You try to get there with Mr. Ditto, et cetera, telling us in advance what the priorities are gonna be, so that we can prepare ourselves in order to make those applications and get in front of people before other counties do. So that's.
And on the ag building, it's like the museum with grants. I'm not ruling out talking to the Ohio State Extension and USDA, maybe they've got some money that they could put in for a room. Remember they told us all that? We bring the director in. So we'll get things packaged up like we're doing, and before we pull the trigger, we exhaust all the possibilities.
Well,
People that could be part of it.
That's right, and I agree with that. It's a good thing to have plans in place to be able to submit. Whenever you make a capital request from the state or from the federal government, the further you are along in that process, the more likely you are to receive the grant. So if you just come up with an idea out of your head and go to the state and say, we'd like to build a playground, you don't have any plans. I mean, it's much like economic development, you know, that's why Lenny Klaus and some of these guys have built spec buildings out there. Because if you bring a company in and show them a cornfield, you are less likely to get that company than if you show them a 50,000 square foot building with loading docks, right? So you gotta be prepared and spend the money on, that's why everybody says, I don't like to do these studies, et cetera, and I'm not thrilled with it either, but when you do the studies, at least you're in a position that you have a higher priority of being approved for capital projects in the future than you would without having that done.
Shovel ready.
So prepare yourself and be ready,
So-
and sometimes you'll have to take a turn, because, like I said, you know, museums may not be the thing.
For till
It
2
may-
more years.
Yeah, it could be something else.
So on the back on the capital discussion, Kylie, looking at everybody in the room. So my understanding is if we take it from the general fund money and we allocate it in the capital fund, Jimmy, kind of what we've been
Sure.
talking about,
Sure.
okay? It's designated to the capital fund.
If you want to use it to spend it on something like sheriff salaries, then you'll have a
We can't.
reimbursement back to the general fund in that amount. So
Yeah, but I guess,
technically,
my understanding was, once it's in the capital
Projects.
accounts, it's not just automatically we can take it out. Is that true?
It's harder, yeah,
It's
you
just a
can't
little
really do
harder.
it,
Capital projects,
once you put it in
Well,
there,
it
it needs to go
meant
to the
for capital
project.
projects. You can develop restricted accounts. You know, like, you put it in a capital account, you can put it back in the general fund, as you guys know from a county standpoint. But if by edict, rainy day funds, you
Yeah.
cannot use
Good
those
example.
right.
unless there, you know, there's a downturn in the economy, or unless it's proven every, I don't remember exactly what specifically we said. But that money can't come out of that account to fund county operations unless certain things happen. You could restrict certain amounts of money for a specific project and say the only thing this money can be used for is the egg building. If you want to do that, but you tie your hands if you do that.
Okay, we'll talk more about this, but basically we have this money and we want to spend it on our priority projects, but we don't want to rush it and make bad decisions. So in my mind, I'd like to park the money in the capital account at some point between now and the end of the year. As we get into our budget, our carryover, our budget stabilization, the extra money, we'll talk about that over the next month, I'm sure. We park it in the capital account. That accomplishes, because when we look at our accounts, we're operating, that's what that's intended to, and then this capital money to attack that list, which obviously is not gonna happen right away. When we do get ready to attack it, and we are further down the road, to your point, with our plans, then we have the money. then it's there, you know?
Just keep your eye on the ball.
I don't know if it's that simple, but it
Well, you know,
make it
the
easier.
FSA, for example, we talked about not getting back to us for 6 to 8 months. You're getting damn near 2024.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting way into 2023, and if the money's gotta be spent by 2024, getting clearly close. So there is a bit of a priority here.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, more to come. Anybody want to add anything? Kylie, you guys, Barb, John?
Well, I will add that with the ARP money that has to be appropriated by 2024, but it doesn't have to be spent
Right.
until 2026. So it has to be appropriated by the end of 2024.
So part of our budget process, you'll tell us what's left in that account.
Correct.
And then maybe to his point, we could appropriate, I'm making this up, hypothetically
Mhm.
appropriate that for an ag building
Correct.
or something. And then
Correct.
that takes care of that, and we can continue with our business, and then as this ag building comes together. Because to me, that is our number one priority. I mean, right, John, we have to figure that out. Yeah, and the museum's not far behind, at least if we do something little to
And
invest. Yeah.
You got more?
No, I'm done.
I'm
I
good.
still would like to, yeah, I still like the commission to consider human capital.
Yeah.
As I had made earlier, I'd like to put a couple $100,000 away for education, specifically for attaining a degree or furthering their education in their field of work. Again, for a couple reasons. One, it's because I think it's the right thing to do, and two, from an employment competitive standpoint, most private companies have some form of funding for education and reimbursement. As far as I know, the county does not. So I'd like to see people have the ability
I like it.
to apply for a pool of money to finish their degree or to, you know, have a specific certificate in whatever it is their job is. So I'd like us to consider that.
We talked about one-time interns, Jimmy, remember?
Yeah.
With, did you start?
With the colleges or?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
for a nominal number
Yeah.
between Heidelberg and Tiffin University, our electeds, our departments, we have access to some really sharp people, some good interns. And sometimes, you know, a $2,500 fee for an intern for a semester, it can be really helpful with projects. And so as we talk about what Mike brought up, you know, we can add that into our community because we're blessed to be here with our universities. And also Sentinel has plans, right, Bill? They have.
Tara.
So, good. Anything else on the capital projects?
Nope. Those are the.
Okay, what do you want to do next on, like, the next, how do you want to address this next from here?
So I think we're just gonna have to work back from the original list and kind of put the actual numbers in, is what Barb and I are gonna kind of work through. Probably Jimmy, because he's been involved, and John as well. Kyle, if you want to jump in as well. But kind of try to figure out that moving forward. And then a lot of this obviously goes hand in hand with the budget, so some budget workshops along with that, hearing the request. So this kind of really just ties into the budget moving forward, so.
So on the big two, also to make sure we're on the same page, the big two, if it's okay with you two, I would like to go to the museum board meeting. And I will take John, Jimmy, or you with me, just to go to a meeting, okay, and begin some discussions. And then you're gonna send that drawing, whatever you're supposed to do, to the USDA and get us started for a ticket.
Yep.
Okay, those two action points we can do.
Unrelated, if you would try to remember to invite the building permit
Yes, I have a
for
thing
next
for
week's
that.
meeting, yeah.
For next week.
Good. Wow, that's what I'm thinking about.
Anything else you want to add before we?
You want?
So I want to take another hard look at the numbers, what the new adjusted numbers are, and just really weigh it out.
Remember that?
Okay.
Wow, everything's
You
going
know, you
almost.
think something's 2.5 and it's 5, you know, you think it's 100 and it's 700. It's crazy. Okay, so let's go to new business.
Okay, I have step apps for the 2017 STEP grant. It's a transfers out into the 1095 fund for $278.12. 2020 STEP grant, which the STEP grant is the selective traffic enforcement grant, just to update you guys on that. It's the 1222 fund, transfers out of 192.52. 2017 IDEP grant fund, impaired driving enforcement, the 1173 fund from 2017 for the transfers out of $443.28. The 2020 IDEP 1086 fund for transfers out of $375.59. I have a SUPAP for general fund for supplies for $300. That is for the recorder's office. There is some specific
Like Dal's
equipment.
asking for 300. Are you okay with it?
He
had
has
to pick-
specific supply that is pertinent to his office, and it actually has like doubled in price. So he's gonna be short. He needs another
We
order
hear
of
from
it.
him as often we hear from Jay.
I think that's his first request since I've been here.
Yeah.
We have another sub-app into the general fund, and this is for salaries for tax map. We have an employee retiring, $10,695.04 for that payout.
Can I interject into that? There should also be a sub-app for Medicare, but it has not been entered, so they will probably come back and ask for that amount of money, because it will be,
Can
it'll
we
be
amend this to
taxable.
include that?
Excuse me?
No. Okay. So they'll have to come
I'll,
back.
yeah, I'll just ask them to include it, at a later
Next time.
time, because it's taxable income, so
Is this auditor or engineer?
it's engineer for tax
Engineer.
map.
Okay, that's what I thought.
see.
I wasn't sure.
A sub-app for county sewer district, the 4139 fund. It's a total of 11,000. The contract service line for 10,000, and supplies for 1,000. Victims of Crime Act grant, the 2110 fund. Other expense is $3,498.20. And then the VOCA 2112 fund, for that grant, it's a total of $650. The equipment, for a computer upgrade is $500, and then, some toner for supplies is $150. General special projects, the 1193 fund, contract services for $1,350, some additional funds to pay for an attorney. And then we have some corrections for the general fund. The jail salaries for negative $2,149,428.69. Medicare correction of $29,889.91. And PERS correction of $305,287.38. SUPAP for the DRETRAC fund, for the treasurer, the 1021 fund, $1,406.40 is the total additional that's needed for payroll, and that breakdown is salaries $1,200, Medicare $17.40, workers' comp and disability insurance $21, and PERS $168. The 2020 Comprehensive Opiate Stimulant and Substance Abuse Program, the 1116 fund, $12,000 into the contract services line. The 2019 IDEP, the 1197 fund, this is for their grant that they're expecting. It's a total of $17,001.08. And that breakdown is salaries, $13,209.83. Medicare, $246.52. Apparently my lines got left off. Workers' comp, $467.53. And PERS, $3,077.20. And then sub-app for the 2019 STEP grant, the 1208 fund that's going to be coming, that one is a total of $18,501.08. And the breakdown is salaries $14,375.33. Medicare for $268.27. Workers' comp for $508.78. And PERS $3,348.70.
Is there a new impaired drivers program that's coming our way? Is that?
These actually should say 23, they're new federal grants that they just
All right,
received.
thank you.
Good catch.
Those are the ones I was given. Okay, and resolutions are, authorizing a fund advance from the general fund to the Selective Traffic Enforcement Program Step Fund 1208, $18,501.08. There's that one. Resolution authorizing a fund advance from the general fund to the Impaired Driving Enforcement IDEP Fund 1197 for $17,001.08. Resolution authorizing fund transfers to be made to the Metric Seneca County Law Enforcement Trust Fund 1178 for $2,458. Resolution authorizing fund transfers to be made to the general fund. And these are the transfers for the IDEP and STEP funds. The IDEP transfer for 2020 is $375.59. The 2017 IDEP 1173 fund is $443.28. The 2020 STEP fund 1222 is $192.52. And then the 2017 STEP 1095 fund is $278.12. I have a resolution accepting the bid of Smith Farms for leasing the farm situated in section 25 of Hopewell Township, County of Seneca, State of Ohio, on a cash rent per acre basis, and authorizing the Seneca County Board of Commissioners to enter into a lease for that. A resolution authorizing the sewer district billing and administrative contract service agreement between Seneca Regional Planning Commission and the Seneca County Commissioners on behalf of the Seneca County Sanitary Engineer. This contract that was submitted by Regional Planning states that they want it to be a 3-year contract.
I'd like to pull that one out, please.
Okay.
Go on a separate one.
Okay. Resolution authorizing the contract with RS Associates LLC, doing business as Resource Solutions Associates on behalf of the Seneca County Emergency Management Agency. And that's entering into contract with Ice Miller LLP for legal counsel services as Seneca County pursues implementation of a broadband strategic plan and broadband expansion, authorizing Anthony Paradiso as president to sign.
Are we putting a dollar amount on that?
Yes, in the resolution it says no more than 50,000.
Okay, all right, good, thank you.
One more.
Resolution entering into an agreement between Seneca County Land Reutilization Corporation and the Seneca County Commissioners regarding 3484 South Township Road 151, Tiffin, which is the old youth center, effective October 13th, 2022, and authorizing Anthony Paradiso as president to sign. Resolution to rescind the board's orders of September 29th, 2022. Resolution 2022-198, accepting the petition and granting the annexation to the city of Fostoria for parcels of land being 66.453 plus or minus in the section 30, Jackson Township, 3 North, Range 13 East, Seneca County, Ohio.
Mr. Chair, I would move for approval of all the resolutions and the authorizations and the transfers, except for the one that we pulled out.
I'll second Commissioner Kirschner.
Commissioner Kirschner,
Yes,
Commissioner Schuff,
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso.
Yes.
and I think that in the past, we have had In the far past, we had a 3-year contract on the sewer district billing with regional planning, but of recent date, the last 4 or 5 years, it's been a year at a time. And I would propose that we continue to have no more than a year of that contract. So the authorization is okay, except it'll be effective January 23 through December 31st of 23.
What are your thoughts on that? 3-year, 1 year?
Yeah, I'd rather do 1 year, 3. Is there a reason why they're asking for 3 years when we normally do 1?
Yeah, I think they
They've had a 3-year previously.
had 3,
but,
and they just.
It's been 4 or 5 years
Yeah.
since the 3-year was in place.
Working on a conversion, and they've asked for 3, but,
I prefer to take it a year at a time.
okay, 1 and 1, is that a motion? Or do
Yeah,
you need a motion?
yeah, I will, so move.
Okay,
Second?
second.
Okay. All right. We can sign the resolution. I'll get the new contract then.
You want a roll call on the motion?
Oh, sorry. Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw?
Yes.
Commissioner Fearley?
Yes. So we'll go 1.
And I had the resolutions there. I'll get the new contract from Charlene.
Thank you.
And Charlene's in here if you did want her to speak, but that's up to you. She just commented.
If she wants to speak, she.
If you want to, Charlene.
Yeah.
I don't think she should. Good. Okay, she said sure. You should be able to unmute then, Charlene.
Good morning.
Oh, boy.
Oops, sorry. The reason we requested a 3-year contract is because, one, previously, we had 3-year contracts through the history of regional planning during the sewer administration. And the second is because we're starting on a whole new software system, and we would like those 3 years to complete the, get the conversion completed, get all the policy and procedures in place, and that would ensure that we are maintaining and getting everything correctly done during that 3-year period and working out any kinks that may come into the system. So that's why we were requesting the 3-year. We're not changing the rate of administrative services. We were just asking for committed time to complete the transfer, complete conversions, and make sure the software works properly and do our job as we're supposed to do. So that's why we asked for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just remind the commission that we have had numerous discussions regarding the possibility of removing the administration of the sewer department from regional planning. Hopefully, regional planning can be self-sufficient at some point, that's the goal. Again, to the cabbage twice, regional planning has never been the conduit to administer the sewer district. It's not part of their duties, nor is it part of their responsibilities. The commission did that to be able to allow them to be funded for their operation. However, they do now have an assessment to the cities, to the townships, to the county, and they have some income coming in from administration. And we hope that that, at some point in time, will suffice for them to run their group, and that the money that is now being used, approximately $50,000 for sewer administration, could go back to the general fund, maybe be handled by the commissioner's office or somebody who can do it less expensively.
So it looks like we'll just entertain that next year, Charlene, and while you're, well, I'll get to that at the end. So we've,
Yeah, we're good.
I think we're good, right? We've completed new business, is that, okay, we've completed new business. So we will open up to public comment, anyone that's in the room that would like to speak. We'll start with Adam. Any comment there?
Nothing for you today?
Okay, Lonnie, you wanted to speak?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please say your name and you have the floor.
It's Lonnie Beard. I'm here to address the situation that happened about 4 months ago. I was suspended by prior administration from EMS on allegations, for one, that were never investigated, and for two, I have witnesses that state the opposite of what they're saying. I've tried to reach out to the prior administration. They give me the runaround. They say I have to wait for the State Board of Pharmacy. I contacted the State Board of Pharmacy. they do not suspend people without investigation. And I feel that the actions taken were personal. And there was never nothing was ever investigated. I'm trying to get back to help my community.
Okay, so, I'm going to defer to HR County Administrator as to how we respond to that question and then what happens after the meeting.
I think I can speak with the interim EMS director to see, get his perspective on this and follow up with him. And then I can follow back up with you, but I'd like to speak with him first on how he views that should go. And then after the meeting, if I can get your phone number.
Absolutely.
So that I could reach out, but I would like to speak, that's his area, that's
Right.
going
Well,
to
I
be
called
the,
him. I wanted to have a
Dr.
meeting with him
Sauber.
to-
Okay, yep, absolutely. We'll speak with Dr. Sauber and we'll get some more information for you, but I'd like to follow up with you afterwards, so.
Okay.
So we have two things, investigation and then a suspension.
Right,
You wanna
because,
talk
you
about
know,
the
I feel it was
suspension?
unjustly, it was
Okay,
never
well,
investigated.
we'll have a conversation with you.
It's no fun to be in
Okay.
purgatory, so.
Right, and you know, and all I want to do is help people.
Okay, we'll talk about that afterwards. You okay? Got it. Mr. Carrion, you good?
Yep.
Zach, want to say anything? Okay, anybody in the back? Mr.
I
Brightwell?
want to make a comment about the sewer in New Riggle. You know, years ago, that was mentioned when that was put in, that I believe the statement was that New Riggle is sending less sewage than what Fostoria is getting. Has that ever, I think I'm right with that. Has that ever been checked out?
Yes, and yes. So that's the Village of New River sewer system is, needs attention. Okay, it was designed to handle the meat processing plant that closed. Actually, it's the opposite, so a little bit of sewer goes in, but by the time it hits Fostoria, a lot comes out because 40 or 50% of what comes out is just water that works itself into the system because of faulty, it's deep and so the whole thing's, so they've discussed it. It was brought to our attention, I think it was the only meeting you've missed since I've been here, that it's not a village issue anymore, it's a county issue. We took over the sewer system before our time, but that's, so the little village who might be eligible for village grants, like a Bloomville or a Bettsville or an Attica is, it's kind of back on the county shoulders. So Engineer Zimmerman is working on some thoughts and ideas.
I remember him talking about that.
Yeah, and Mayor Boyan has some ideas, so we're trying to get our heads on to figure out how we can lower the cost and maybe address that thing long-term, but it's more complex than, Charlene was on the call and she gave the sewer rate, she actually sent them to us, and New Riggle pays 2 times what Bascom pays, for example, for the same
But in
service.
my mind, I can't imagine a sewer line leaking.
Yeah, I know, it's mind-boggling.
That makes no sense to me.
Right. So,
I've
you'll hear more about it.
been thinking about that.
We have Commissioner-elect Frankert working on that project. We gave that to him. Jimmy, anybody online that would like to speak?
Yeah, Mike Ditto sent me something in the chat. Go ahead, Mike, if you're ready.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thanks for the time this morning. As always, I appreciate it. Just to update you on a couple of things, the legislature will be back in session here in just under 4 weeks. We are eagerly awaiting that. Others are probably not looking forward to that, but we are. We're always glad to have them back. Also, the governor announced this morning that he is going to be distributing $500 million in grants for Appalachian counties, for Appalachian revitalization. I know Seneca is not included in that. However, we understand and we're hearing that there is at least a possibility that before the end of the year, there will be similar grants allocated to other non-urban areas of Ohio. So we are trying to work with the governor's office to see if that's true and if they can give us a preview on that. If we get any information there, we will certainly let you know right away. But that'll be a big application process for the eastern Ohio counties, and certainly it'd be great to have something that may be available for Seneca. So we'll keep you apprised there. And I will be working with the team to try and find some dates for us to come up, possibly even before the election, so we can work on some ideas and strategies looking forward to the start of 2023 as the next state budget gets underway. So we'll look forward to coming up and seeing everybody in person.
Hey, Mike, why just the Appalachian counties?
I think the way that this grant is set up, let me pull up this information real quick. This is something that he announced today. The governor's office actually has an Appalachian office where he has a director down there. So this is going to be a 32 county coverage for this grant. My guess is that this is part of some of the revitalization that the governor promised during his one of his state of the state addresses many years ago. I think maybe back in 2019 or 2020. That some of the non-urban areas of the state he felt had been underutilized and needed to be revitalized a bit. So my guess is, this is purely speculation since this was just announced this morning, is that he is starting with the Appalachian counties since it's such a big region and they certainly are not exactly beneficiaries of state funds or federal funds often. And as you well know, as well as anybody, it goes to the 3 Cs, Columbus, Cleveland, and Cincinnati more often than not. So my guess is that he is starting with the Appalachian counties and then working his way around the state for distribution in other areas as well.
What kind of revitalization? Sorry for so many questions, but
No, it's
do
okay.
you know what that entails?
The way that his office and Lieutenant Governor Husted are pushing this is to revitalize communities and stimulate transformational change. This was it's called the Appalachian Community Grant Program, and they're actually going to be releasing some of the guidelines on it today. Let's see, it says, the program will specifically support transformational projects in Ohio's Appalachian communities that will focus on infrastructure development, physical and behavioral health, and workforce development. And actually, the detailed guidelines are now posted. I will send that to you. But it is $500 million over the next couple of years for Appalachian development grants. So let's hope that we can there's lots of money coming down from the federal government, as you well know, and you discussed earlier on this call. I imagine that the governor is trying to put resources into communities all across the state, and this is sort of the first tranche of that money.
Thank you.
Anybody else, Jimmy?
Yep, I just hit the button so anyone in here can unmute themselves. So if you would like to speak during public comment, you can unmute now.
Okay. So, going once, twice, hearing no other comment, meeting is adjourned.